Hi, everyone!
Welcome back to Next Gen MFG, the podcast where I highlight young people in our industry doing great things. This is my good friend Lucy, and I met Lucy at tech school. Well, I knew her before tech school, but
It's a whole story.
it's a whole story, and I'm gonna let her get into that later. But before we get into her story, the reason why I kind of made this podcast was because of Lucy. She's been doing some really great things with herself on LinkedIn and Instagram, so I'm really excited for my first in-person episode to be with her. So take it away. Who are you?
Hi, everyone. My name is Lucy Chesnowskis, and I'm originally from California, and I moved out to North Carolina to go to NASCAR Technical Institute, where I met this lovely lady who's inspired me. And, I've kind of had a long but short, crazy journey, and she's been along for the entirety of it, pretty much, and just helping me get through everything. So I guess I'm here today to kind of talk about what I've done, how I got there, and how you guys can also do that.
You already went to UTI by the time I had met you. You were in like your third class or something like that.
I believe so.
And I met you on Snapchat. So UTI has a little. Actually, we should probably explain what UTI is before we hop into it. It's not. Yes, yeah, it is that. It is that. But
there's two things.
You want to tell them what it stands for?
Universal Technical Institute, unfortunately named UTI. And I grew up in Southern California, and I went to the Long Beach campus of UTI. I took about 4 courses there before a representative recommended me to go to NTI to get high performance training.
I'm going to explain how I met her. I was on Snapchat and I was kind of going through the UTI public Snapchat group, and I found this girl whose name was Lucy, and I'm like, oh, this is a chick. Oh, let me add her. Let me see where she's from. She's from California. I'm like, frick, that's so far. I want some girlfriends. Let me try to convince her. Maybe she'll come down. And she was already looking at the school, so I was like, you know what? It's perfect. I could trap her. And she came all the way.
She showed up across the country just for this lovely woman.
No, literally. No, but as soon as she got here, I saw how much she excelled at school. Like, truly. Teachers didn't know that I knew you until, like, they had mentioned, oh, this blonde girl, Lucy. I'm like, yeah, I know her. Like, they were telling me, they were like, oh, she does really good Oh, I'm like, yeah, I know. And they're like, how do you know? Like, she's like, because by the time that she came to NTI, I was way, like, almost done with my schooling. So teachers were like, how do y'all know each other? I'm like, I don't know. I just happened to have met her, and yeah.
Okay, so the reason that I got into the automotive industry was because my high school offered a program that was going through all the trades. It was 1 course, and you take 5 courses within that. So every 2 weeks, you rotate courses, or 3 weeks. And so you go coding 1, coding 2, photography, wood shop, and auto shop. So I went through my classes, and then I ended up in wood shop, and I loved working with machinery. And I had so much fun working with my hands. I immediately signed up for wood shop within the next semester. This is my freshman year. For my second semester, I was like, I need wood shop. And I signed up. Then my next class was auto shop, and I was like, oh, this is it. And I was just so happy to be there because it really felt like everybody talked the same language. I was loving every second. There was a good amount of females because it was a mandatory class. So you had a good 50-50 of females and men.
That program was mandatory for every high schooler to take?
Yeah. Yeah, and so intro to tech. So So it was mandatory. Some people had exceptions, but I don't know really anything about that. But for the most part, like, I would say 95% of students went through it. And
so shout out to all the high schools that have really great tech programs. My high school had it wasn't mandatory for all students, but they had a tech program where you could cycle through all the different trades, and it's really cool that they made it mandatory at your high school. Because I think that's really important for kids that age to be exposed to those trades. Because other than that, were you exposed to them before that?
No, my grandfather had a shop, but I didn't know that until after I expressed to my parents that I liked automotive, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, your dad used to restore cars, your grandfather used to have a shop. And so anyways, I kind of started realizing the difference between people who were passionate and people who weren't passionate pretty quickly. But yeah, essentially I decided I wanted automotive every single year, and I took 2 semesters of auto shop, and then I went into TA and then peer tutor. I also had COVID though throughout my high school years. So we did a lot of online projects. My dad and I went and bought a 1965 Ford F100 that we decided to restore during COVID so I could have some hands-on experience. And then when I went back in my senior year to high school, that's when I started doing more of the DIY stuff because I got into metal shop. So as I was in metal shop, I could do fabrication for my truck and kind of blend those two together. So that was fun. I was just learning basics like changing fluids, but I also did DIY like taking the gas tank out of the cab, putting it in the back, sanding down the frame, and all that kind of stuff. Just some stuff you gotta do to old trucks. You can take auto shop every single year. Your first year, you have to get projects done. Second year, that's when you can start doing your own stuff or helping out other people. Or you could just redo the class. Most people take the first year to get the basic knowledge. The third year and the fourth year was TA and peer tutor, where I did my own thing but also helped out other people. For my senior year, as I was working on my truck, there was UTI representatives that came in and they kind of gave their little speech and they're like, hey, come to our trade school. You don't want to go for 4 years? Go for a year. I was like, oh, that's exactly what I was running into. I don't want to go take more science classes. I didn't want to go take more English classes. I wanted to just focus on what I wanted to do, and that was automotive. So, signed up really quickly. And literally, as I signed up, I was asked to go give a speech and be a panelist for the Ignite program, which is an all-women in STEM group or association.
So if you're a woman in
I think it's
California,
all
it's all over the world.
Worldwide.
Okay, so
yeah, Ignite
look into
program,
that.
they have a lot of support getting into jobs and stuff like that. I don't know a whole lot about them, but I do know you could go to them pretty much anything.
So it's pretty similar to Tech Force, which is a foundation that I was talking about that does scholarships, and Tech Force is a nonprofit scholarship foundation, so definitely if you're in automotive and you're looking for scholarships, check out Tech Force.
For sure. There's definitely a few more scholarships that I want to touch on. A huge thing other than networking and reaching out to these people is also this lady over here pretty much got her entire tuition paid off with scholarships.
Yeah.
So if people tell you scholarships don't work, that's not true. You just have to religiously apply to them.
Like hundreds. I applied to hundreds.
Yeah. And I would just have basically a Google Doc with a bunch of rough drafts that I've submitted to other scholarships. So I would copy and paste my answer. If I get a similar question, copy and paste it into that one. And just,
it's not plagiarizing. It's all about you, so it doesn't matter.
They're like, hey, like, you know, why are you interested? Why are you passionate? What are you trying to get into? Like, and eventually my first one was the micro scholarship, which was awesome. They gave me $5,000.
Yeah.
And then the school matched that as a tuition reduction. So I got $10,000 off my tuition within the first, I think, 4 weeks of being there.
And you were already in school while you were getting your scholarships too. So it's not like you have to do it all before you go to school. There's also great reimbursement programs there too. So like after you graduate, you could also get that too.
And that's the thing. I got a $2,500 scholarship after. So seeing that you could still apply, you get, what is it called? Tuition reimbursement?
Yeah, I guess tuition reimbursement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got that afterwards, and then I also got invited to go to tours. So free tickets.
Big companies like that really want to see young people in the trade. So
yeah. And definitely being a female and being minorities, that's a huge thing that you can put in there. But it's not all about that. If you put down how passionate you are and how much you're working forward to it, that's what they're looking for.
People see that.
So scholarship is a huge thing. Yeah, I did a speech for the whole Ignite thing. Got to talk to a lot of like young girls who were interested, and that was just so fun to talk with people who had a similar passion, and they were all the same age as me. I was the only panelist that hadn't actually had gone to trade school at that point. The rest were graduates.
Yeah. Let's talk about tech school. Let's talk about UTI. Because a lot of people talk down on tech school, specifically on UTI. Because people are like, oh, it's $40,000. Why'd you waste that much money on something that you could learn in the real world? First of all, I just want to say, I'm not talking shit, but college is a lot more expensive than tech school. Second of all, I'm applying something to my everyday life, you know? Just wanted to put that out there before anybody said anything.
That's the thing about trade school. There's such a stereotype, like, you know, it's a waste of time, you're not getting anything out of it. And I think that comes from all the students that go there with the mindset of, oh, it's only a year I can get out and then I can get a really high-paying job. And then they don't apply themselves. And I won't lie, that is the majority of the students.
Yeah.
A lot of people who were just trying to go under the radar, get C's, and then later on, the class numbers started dropping. And you get smaller classes because they're weeding out those people who don't really care. So when I started, I had the big issue of finding a group of people that actually wanted to go study. Finding those people was difficult for me. A lot of times I would just do my own thing, didn't really talk to a lot of people. But the later on in the classes, as those people are weeding out, you start to notice, who that is. And that's when you start getting those really good friends, the people who are applying themselves, working hard, staying after. There's a huge difference. Like, people don't realize passing doesn't just mean, oh, I'm in the green. There's a difference between 70, 80, 90, and 100. It's a huge difference. How much you're applying to yourself. Another thing is working, depending on how old you are. I've heard a lot of people with kids, like, at school, like, it's difficult to balance that life, but the teachers are really supportive and they understand that. One thing I loved about specifically NASCAR Technical Institute was that I could go to the teachers and they understood. They'll stay after with you, they'll talk with you, help you through it. And if you don't understand something, go sit there and ask them about it to understand it. Don't just say, oh, well, that's a part of the test I won't understand. A huge thing for me, honestly, was like, going to class early, studying for my tests in front of my teachers, asking them questions. And a lot of the times they gear you into the right direction for the test. And then after the test, I could be like, I know this wasn't a part of the test, but can you go over this with me? Can we go into the lab really quick? And they'll spend that 20 minutes with you to make sure you understand that. And a huge thing is having the perspective of, this isn't school, this is setting me up for life. Take everything you can from school because you're about to go apply that. And it's such a fast pace too that if you don't catch on and you don't really understand it, you're gonna forget it. It's gonna be out the door.
This episode is probably gonna be a really good episode for UTA and tech schools in general because so many people talk shit about it. And like, yes, I understand. I talk so much about it too. The boys at school were irritating. Oh, tech school is really great for networking. Not just with the people that are going in school with you, but also the teachers have so many doors that are open to them that they could also show you. And when you're working in an area where automotive is so big, it's really easy to find more people to talk to. I was working at CVS and met somebody from Roush Yates. She just walked in and like, yeah, Madison just walked into CVS. So there's this girl, Madison Conrad, who went to NTI and her face is plastered up there and I recognized her and I was like, girl, I go there.
And when I first got there, my first class was service writing, and I had Mr. Shimko, and he got me connected with Madison personally.
And then she got me into women.
WMNA is a program to network. All it's about is networking and opening opportunities for women.
So it stands for Women in Motorsports North America, and we're in the Charlotte chapter. We meet every quarter, and it's been growing every single quarter, but we just kind of hang out. Usually we have dinners, go to baseball games. People. Yeah. I don't know about you, but for me, I just kind of note how they talk to each other and how they carry themselves as other women in the motorsport.
It kind of helps you prepare for networking because you get to go see other people, what they talk about, what questions they ask, what you should be asking. Yeah. It was kind of hard coming from like California to North Carolina because I didn't know anybody. And they had a thing in Charlotte. It was the kids F1 like racing thing.
Oh yeah, that you were like kind of helping out.
F1. It was like
F1 Dream or something like that.
It's so much of high schoolers make these little cars out of like 3D printing, and they're the CO2 cartridges and so
additive manufacturing.
And they race them. So I volunteered to go sit at a booth and hand out flyers for WMNA. I got to talk to so many kids, and then I got to put them in the right direction, the right mindset. And there was a group of all girls who won the whole thing too. And these are clubs that they have at their school. Clubs are huge. Yeah, this like F1 school, like they had everybody. I mean, there was like marketing, there was engineering people who were like, responsible for getting funds. So you meet everybody of that team. It's for all different jobs.
And it's great is you were at the forefront of it talking to kids. That's why I wanted to talk to you because I know you're in your own way, you're doing these things, putting yourself out there and exposing yourself to this next generation. And like talking on the stage at UTI to those kids that were going into school. I'm pretty sure you also did that with the graduating class at NASCAR.
On my it was my graduation. I gave the graduation speech, and then also about 3 days before that, I gave an orientation speech to all the kids who were coming in.
Yeah,
which was nerve-wracking.
They picked a really great person to do that because you're constantly doing that. You're constantly uplifting other people, teaching them while you're doing great things for yourself too.
You know, that's like it's so weird to hear that for me, because like for me, I like see myself as a very like lazy, unmotivated person, but it's the fact that I get up and go do these things when I don't want to do them. You know?
Yeah.
It's like the two types of people I would see at trade school, the lazier person and the go-getter person. I bet you both feel like you don't want to get up in the morning, but it's the person who gets up, gets on time, comes in early, and pushes themselves, which is like a kind of weird way to look at it, but I see myself as a lazy person. But it's because I choose to go out and go to these events, but I'm gonna do that because I know it's gonna help me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I shouldn't really say taking time off work is like a good thing. Like, definitely show up every day and go to work.
Right, definitely show up every day and go to work. But if it's for your career,
yeah,
like, furthering your career,
yeah,
and your job understood.
Yeah.
We forgot to talk about where you work. We're gonna get to that in a second. We're still in trade school because you were a really great student. SOC, which stands for Student of the Course. We get SOC awards for people who show up and are doing really great in class, hundreds every single test. Right? I remember going to her graduation and the person in front of her had like nothing. They said his name. He walked. They said her name and it took her like a minute to get through all the awards.
Okay, so 6 SOC awards, 14 Directors List awards, Alpha Beta Kappa, SPEC engines, professionalism, highest honors.
So professionalism kind of ties into the SOC thing, but it's also your grades really matter. And so she got 6 of them. That means she was the top of the top in her class. 6 classes. Girl, I was none. Okay, I was none. SPEC engines. So,
okay,
what happened there?
Like, at least, I don't know if they have it at other schools. I just know NTI specifically does it.
NTI specifically only has the engines 1 and 2. The other schools have like a high performance class.
Yeah, okay.
Instead.
So you take engines 1's class, and the top of that, or the top 3 students of that class go into SPEC engines. And so SPEC engines is where you work with Mr. Hoffman, and he's had experience rebuilding motors for high-end teams locally. And teams come to him and they go, I need this rebuilt. So he brings it into the school, and we take 3 weeks to tear it down, rebuild it, put in whatever it needs, fix it up, put it on the dyno, tune it for max power. And during that process, not only do I get to talk with somebody who has a lot of experience in the industry, but it was really cool to be around people that were really highly motivated because they were that top percentile of the class.
The last 2 automotive courses that everybody takes at NTI are engines 1 and 2. Unless you take SPEC engines, then you don't take engines 2.
Okay. Hoffman let me go occasionally to go to,
to look at the dyno and shit or whatever.
Yeah, so go to that.
The last 2 courses at NASCAR Technical. No, literally, the last 2 courses everyone takes, and they are the most liked courses. People pay attention most in those courses, even though it's not really the top percentile.
Engines 1 is all about timing. It's all about cam degreeing,
taking the motor apart, putting it back together.
And then engines 2 is the engine dyno,
and the chassis
the flow bench test, and
the chassis dyno. And everyone loves that class. And then that's it. And then you graduate. But if you take the 15-week NASCAR program, the students, they're there to really apply themselves. They really are passionate about being in pit crew or learning about fabrications. Those last 5 classes, I feel like were the best, not just because they were the fun classes, but because people didn't annoy me. They didn't, they didn't try to get on your nerves. Like, in the NASCAR classes, everyone was too busy focusing, really taking in everything to do that, and I liked that the most because I was just left alone.
And then I loved about those classes is they were the longer classes, so they were 6 hours. 6 hours long. I took the morning class, so 6:30 to 1. Yeah. When it came down to finals week in fabrication, I kid you not, I was at school from 6:30 to 8 at night, pretty much every day, working because I wanted to get it right. And what I love and hate about those teachers is they don't grade on your quality of work. They grade on your beginning to your end. So you personally improving. When I had gotten into Fab 2, which was all the welding stuff, I already knew how to weld. So I was like, easy, you know, I'm not a great welder, but I knew that. As soon as I got my settings down, I got this shit easy. And I would be getting 4 out of 5. And Mr. Sweeney came up to me and he was like, it's because you haven't improved. You're not pushing yourself. He was like, just apply yourself, push yourself, stay after, do what you normally do, like what I've seen you already do. I was like, oh, great. Like, now I gotta, like, go again.
And I'm so grateful because he used to also stay after for when I was in NASCAR. And, like, anyways, I think that's enough on tech school because we did quite a bit. So now, after tech school, you started
setting
working.
yourself up, I guess?
Well, I want to talk about where you're working.
Okay. So, right before I graduated, I realized that I needed a job because I was about to graduate and have all the time in the world to learn. I was like, let's just shoot for the stars. Let me just go to apply to like some place. Probably not gonna work, but let me just go for it. So I went to Bilstein, however you want. For the people who don't know, they build shocks and they are mostly based in Europe. But they have a few shops. I believe there's one in California and one out here. But my plan was I want to get into rally. Rally is the craziest form of racing in my opinion. They have these insane cars go through mountain, dirt roads, whatever, at Mach Jesus. Genuinely one of the most intense. There are so many variables that the drivers face within every second, and to understand what your co-driver is telling you and to visualize that as they're speaking in a different language. These people, their reaction time is insane. I'm sorry. Just everything about rally is insane.
It's like second to none reaction time.
Insane. I don't have any other word besides that to describe it. Rally is flying as fast as you can through crazy, insane roads and somehow beating everybody else while doing that. It's a timed race, not like NASCAR where you have everybody bumper to bumper. And that's what I love about it is I feel like you're more competing against yourself and constantly challenging yourself to do better. In high school, I watched all of Ken Block's videos, and with the unicorn flying down these insane roads, that's when I learned about rally. Eventually, there was the Travis Pastrana takeover, where Ken had Travis take over the Gymkhana series. I was really sad because I loved watching Ken and I didn't know much about Travis Pastrana, but Travis did an amazing job, and he started in his hometown. It was really cool to see a different style, but very similar racing, and it's all, I don't know how to describe. Gymkhana is a series of videos where it kind of takes all different aspects of rally. You have road, dirt, snow, sand, all of this stuff, and all these different cars, and Ken would just rip through the mountains, rip through the snow.
So, rally, you were interested in rally in high school, and after NTI, you started working at Bilstein.
I started working at Bilstein because I saw a potential opportunity of me working there for a while and possibly getting over to Europe to go work in rally if I could be transferred between like departments. So that was my plan. And I went there and I told them my goals and they're like, yeah, let's have you start working. I started with just boxing and sub-assemblies, but unfortunately I got hired through a temp agency. Yeah, temp agency. When they didn't have enough work, that was it for me. I was really like sad. I didn't see it coming. I'm devastated. Like that was my plan. That was gonna work out so perfectly for me. And I was like, what am I gonna do now? I had this wonderful woman again come in and she was telling me about LinkedIn and she's like, go apply, go reach out. And so I was posting stuff when I went to PRI.
PRI stand for Performance Racing
Industries, something. So I went there with my boyfriend and I just network. Oh my gosh, networking constantly. You were never not walking around and networking with these people. And I have so many business cards from there. We met this one guy and we call him Santa Claus because he would look at you and be like, tell me a little bit about yourself. And he goes, here, call this number. And bro had so many connections.
When older people realize that the younger people really want to be here and talk, learn, and improve, they just give you their resources. They just hand them out to you.
There's not a lot of passionate people in the industry nowadays.
But that's the thing. There are so many.
There are a lot,
so many. But they're just not in front of these older people.
Yeah,
they just don't know that we exist.
Another thing, the whole reason I went to PRI was because scholarships. So North Carolina Motorsports Foundation, NCMF, I got a scholarship through them, and I ended up getting $3,000 from them, and they had a ceremony. It was in Charlotte, actually. I went to that banquet, and I talked with a lot of people, and they're like, hey, if you're gonna go to PRI, we're having an after party where you can network. So I decided, let's go network.
Oh, how did you even do this PRI thing? You literally just applied to the scholarship. That's it.
I was at school, and it was just one of the scholarships that I applied to. I knew.
So seems like we might have to go to PRI in SEMA this year. If somebody wants to send us out to SEMA and PRI,
I will go.
We'll go. We'll go and cover the floor, do some yapping.
I'd be down.
If you want to go, we could be hosts together. But
I'd be down.
Anyways, okay.
So after I sat there for 2 weeks, crocheting and going on LinkedIn, reaching out to people, Jeff Ryan, the founder of JRI, reached out to me and he said, hey, like, do you want to come for an interview? He asked me to come in and have an interview with Scott Everhand, the operation manager. And I talked with him, got the tour. He was like, when can you start? And I was like, whoa, okay, like, I'll start Monday. You know, I think it was Friday. And he was like, come back with this paperwork and you're good to go. And what he wanted me to do was understand all of the departments, shipping, receiving, inventory, and work my way up to assembly. I started doing inventory, which was very tedious. I applied myself 110% because that's what my dad taught me to do. And by doing this, I made myself a valuable person. I started making Excel spreadsheets of where everything was. I saw what the company needed, and I took my time, even a little bit outside of work, to start like building up this system that I knew would be helpful. And I got to present it to them. I build shocks, and I get to learn, you know, non-adjustable singles. I'm working my way up to doubles right now, hopefully triples. There definitely is a lot of opportunities there for me, and I'm really happy that I get to work with those people because they're so smart. The engineers there, Ron and Drew, are fun, and they've taught me like CAD during my lunches. I go in and I would just sit there and be like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? And people who see you're passionate want to help you out.
I want to kind of like switch gears and talk about the cool shit that you're doing outside of work, because you're working full time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you somehow got this really cool, was it an internship or an apprenticeship?
Yeah,
it's an internship.
Internship.
Do you want to tell them what internship you're doing?
So, in the back of my head, it's always been rally. It is the purpose of everything was rally. So while I was on LinkedIn, I was reaching out to people, and it started with Katie Hedinger, the late model racing. She's a 16-year-old girl who drives, and I love her. She's great. Shout out Katie. Her dad like let me kern for like 2 races there. I met a guy named Turbo. Turbo was the cook and the semi driver. He was like, reach out to this guy. While I was helping them out and getting this team experience, I was networking with all these people because you're in the service area, you're in the garage, and there's dozens of teams. So I went around and I talked with these people, and they're like, reach out to this person. And eventually, throughout all of that, I was told to reach out to Rhiannon. But Rhiannon is Travis Pastrana's co-driver. So I was like, there's no way she's going to respond, but I might as well.
There's no way it's going to happen, but
there's no way. Why not?
Let's do it.
I mean, that's like half of the people that I reached out to was like just constantly reaching out.
Yeah.
So when I reached out to Rhiannon, I gave her a paragraph. Here's a little bit about me. This is what I'm trying to do. What advice do you have for me? She responded, and I was like, whoa, okay. This top of the line co-driver just actually responded to me, and she told me, post on Facebook. And she was like, go into North America rally groups and basically go into these groups, request to join them. Sometimes they have little like questions they want you to fill out, and then you get accepted. I got accepted and created this post, and this post had these videos that I made about myself, some photos of me at school, some photos of me working on my truck, and then I put like a few quick paragraphs again, who I am, what I'm interested in, what I want to do, and the last question, can anybody help me out? Sort of like
when I tried to get you on LinkedIn to do that introduction post.
So I posted this in probably like 4 different groups that I got accepted into, and one of them blew up. Literally, Okay, I don't mean like 50K blew up, but I had at least a dozen rally teams ask me to come out and help. And that's a dozen opportunities. That's a dozen more than I had before that post. And in those comments, I had so many people say, reach out to this girl, Heather Holler. Heather is somebody, if you can interview her, I'm begging you to interview her. Because Heather is one of the coolest people I know. You and her have the same vibes. The way that you're passionate and the way that you don't give two about men in the industry downgrading you.
You don't either.
Sometimes. No. I try my best.
We all try our best.
Yeah.
But I've noticed ever since you met her and her people, you're so much more happier.
I know. It's so much fun.
You found your people. You already knew what your passion was, but now you are seeing it come to life, and all your hard work is coming to fruition.
Yeah. It finally felt like all that work got paid off. Everybody told me to reach out to her and I got to meet her. And immediately she pulled me aside. She was like, girl to girl talk right now. She was like, this industry sucks for women. Don't get me wrong, you'll get opportunities because you're women, but it sucks. And I was like, hi, nice to meet you. Like, I'm Lucy. I love her to death because she is this bundle of joy, and I finally felt like I could be myself. And talking to her about rally, I was just honest with her. I was like, I don't have rally experience. I'm so nervous. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I can help you. I was like, I'll sweep. I'll do whatever you want.
That's probably what really stood out to her. I mean, everything that you've been saying, and I see the way you interact with these people, I know for a fact that stands out to them, and that's why they keep reaching back out to you. Yeah. They keep vouching for you. For real though. All the that you're getting right now, you did it yourself. Not with your body, not because you're a woman. You just because your skills, because you keep asking questions. People don't do that. But it doesn't matter how much I tell you to go on LinkedIn. If you don't do it yourself, nothing's gonna matter. But you do. You keep doing it, and even though you got these opportunities, I still see you posting. You're still texting people, and then you're helping other people get on LinkedIn. I'm going a little bit off, but like, I'm really proud of you. And so I like when I tell you for real that the reason I made the podcast was because of you. I'm being dead. It's like when I saw what you started doing on LinkedIn and the fact that like Heather that happened. When that happened, I was like, this needs to be a podcast. I'm gonna use her. I'm gonna use her because it like the reason why I want people on LinkedIn is because of that. Yeah. And now that I know Facebook has more opportunities too, I'm also gonna start boasting about that.
I was looking through Instagram about the rally that I went to, and I saw this one picture, and I was like, oh, that's such a cool photo. It was me working on the car. Some kid posted, and I was like, hey, could you send that to me? He was like, yeah, for sure. Can I ask you why? And I was like, well, that's me in the photo. And he was like, no way. He was like, that's so cool. And he's super excited and stuff.
That's really cool.
Like, I was like, no way, that's actually you. Like, he tagged me and he sent me the photo, and then I got to talking with him, and he was like, I want to do the stuff like you're doing. And I was like, what? Like, somebody just told me that they want to do something that I'm doing.
That stuff is always so crazy. You're inspiring somebody. Somebody is going to listen to this podcast and resonate with what you said and probably follow in your footsteps. You know,
it was awesome to see that because, I mean, I sent this guy paragraphs. I sent him screenshots of Facebook. I was like, these are the groups that I applied to. Here's my post that I posted. Yeah. Post something similar. Like,
good for you, actually. Because, you could have easily just been, like, figure it out yourself. Yeah. Or, could have gatekeeped.
It was just so cool. Because I could see somebody else who's passionate. I could tell that, like, he was excited to be there. He was like, I go to these events, but I want to work for these teams, but I don't know how. He's like, I went up to them, services, and I tried to talk to them. I was like, dude, don't talk to the teams during service. They're busy. Here's the advice that I got. Go during park exposés, which is a car show for the people. Print out your resume. Go show them your resume. I was like, do all this stuff. And it was so cool because I just told somebody what I've done, and they're about to do it. And I don't know how far he's going to go with that.
But you did your part.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that feeling of amazement never goes away either. Because that's what I feel when I see you. And every single time you do something more, I look at you and I'm like, I know her and she's still going. I'm really proud of you.
I always thought money would like be an issue, and it still is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you start doing these things, like, my first rally, like I drove up with Heather. Like, I didn't have to pay for a plane ticket. I didn't have to pay for gas. Like, I drove up with the team.
These people supported you. They wanted you to be there.
Exactly. And, like, they paid for everything. I'm not saying that's going to happen, like, right away. Like, I think I got very, very lucky to go with a team like Element. And Tony, the owner of Element, He was like, I want you to do well during this whole time, but it's that last day that everybody's exhausted that you need to push yourself. The first rally that I went to, we quite literally got an hour of sleep during that weekend. Saturday we woke up at 4:30. We did servicing all day and we worked till 2:30 in the morning, and then it was an hour drive back. And so it was 3:30 at that time that we got back. Got to bed, slept an hour, 4:45, got back up. We did the same the next day. I was so happy to be there. Like, I don't really drink caffeine, but that was natural caffeine. It was 2:30 in the morning and I was sweeping, eating Nutter Butters. I was exhausted and I was so hungry, and I was so happy to be there.
When you're fully passionate in something, it doesn't matter the circumstances. You're just happy to be there. To kind of close out the episode, I kind of wanted to ask, what are your dreams and goals for the future? Because I remember you telling me you were interested in possibly driving or co-driving. That would be cool.
I don't know where I want to go. I just know rally is the direction that I want to head in. I've had interest in engine calibrations, tuning. I'm slowly trying to do this whole jack of all trades thing, but it's also helping me narrow down my actual interest. Like, I didn't understand what the co-driver was saying, so I asked KJ, our co-driver of Element Rally Sport, on our way back to the airport. I was like, teach me your language.
Yes.
Like,
let me figure out what you're saying.
How do you... This could be a possibility for my future. Like, as of right now, I'm really interested in mechanics, but, like, you never know until you try.
I think that's cool. So
I love it.
Your dream is anything in rally, and you're kind of already...
I've definitely
broken in the doorway of that.
Yeah, and for me, I really thought I wanted to get into tuning and suspension, but as soon as I started doing that stuff, I was like, okay, I just want to have the knowledge of this. But I'm like, hey, I kind of want to go wrench more. So I'm reaching out to people, future opportunities, like, hey, like, can I come wrench for you and stuff like that? And these people, they're so inviting when you're passionate. They're so happy to see other people be passionate about something that they are passionate about. When that kid reached out, when I reached out to the kid about the photo and then he was talking about his passion, like, I was like, all I want to do is help you up. Yeah, like, all I want to do is, like, see you at the other booth, you know? Like, I want to see you at service. Like, to feel that other end of that, pulling people up instead of being pulled up, like, was so cool to me.
I bet. It's the reason I started this podcast, for real, so was cool. For that. Yeah. You know, that feeling is amazing. So, you've already, given some advice to the next generation, so you guys could click back to listen to that, but as, like, a sort of, like, summary of your advice, basically you were saying to network, right? And network on not just LinkedIn, but now we learned Facebook is also a really good opportunity, specifically for motorsport teams, it seems like, because there's so many groups on Facebook.
I would say my advice, and I'll try to sum this down because there's a lot that I would love to say. But one, networking is always huge. You'll hear that like 1,000 times, but there's a reason that you're going to hear that 1,000 times is because networking is huge. Mm-hmm. When you don't want to get up in the morning, go to that banquet. You might end up at PRI. You don't know where anything's going to lead you until you try.
I don't
know. Using your resources. That's another huge one. At least for me, when I was in trade school, by using my resources, I'm like talking about teachers. It's like kind of falling under the category of networking. They know how to help you to get in there.
So check out Lucy on LinkedIn, connect with her. And also, for a real quick tip, if you're new to LinkedIn, please don't follow people, connect with people. That way you could be open to their network and they could be open to yours. You could see everything that they like and their network likes. And
I didn't know there's a difference between following and connecting. Is there 2 different buttons?
Yeah. I'll show you in a second. Okay. I'm also going to do episodes like that. I would love to do LinkedIn learning episodes and stuff because I've already had a lot of people go like, I don't know how to use LinkedIn.
There's another feature that I love on LinkedIn, which is if you make your resume, you can put your resume onto LinkedIn and it'll like go through and like section stuff out for you. Mm-hmm. So. And
a lot of people my age don't think it's important to have a LinkedIn, but I think it's very important to have an app that has your work history on it.
Oh, another thing I want to touch on lastly that Heather brought up to me, which is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. Careful what you post.
Careful what you post. Digital footprint is real. It'll follow you for life, so.
Yeah, that's a scary thing about our generation.
All right, so let's figure out a way to close this off.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you for listening. We've been recording for an hour and a half just yapping because this is what this podcast is about. It's a yap fest. I love to hear about the cool shit that y'all are doing in our industry. I'm grateful that my first in-person episode was with my good friend Lucy. I'm so glad that I got to actually sit down and record with you finally, because I've been thinking about this ever since you first started doing this cool stuff. I wanted to get you down and record with you before anybody else could beat me to it. Thank you for being my first ever episode.
Of course, well, thank you for having me, and I'm so happy, and I'm excited for more to possibly help you out on whatever comes next.
Thank you. I hope that this podcast can bring you a lot of great insight, value.
I hope it helps all of you guys.
I hope it helps you guys.
I hope my chaotic life helps inspire you in some way, so I hope you can take some chaotic steps and achieve something that you want to do.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.